Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of A Very British Affair, the best of classic romance comics. And this is created by David Roach. Now this is 224 pages and it comes out from Rebellion and Treasury of British comics and includes 50 comic stories. And you can see all the artists there featuring art by comic icons such as... Let's go through the book. Now you can see there 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. It stops in 1976. You've got a forward, you've got an introduction. So you've got some details. The introduction is very good from David Roach, but you've got all these stories. Most of them are from like Mirabelle, Valentine. I'm just looking down the list here. You've got Marilyn, you've got Roxy, a few stories from those. Also Mates later on. There are a few notable exceptions. I don't know why. Romeo wasn't in here and a few other ones. Boyfriend was the magazines that came out at the time as well. Also the smaller magazines. I'm surprised they didn't include some of those, but maybe the quality wouldn't have been so good, because the quality of the artwork in here is very, very sharp, excellent. Some really top ranking, brilliant Italian and Spanish artists. So you got this forward, always great, Tina Robbins, and also got a brilliant introduction by David Roach. That's not very long. I wish it was a bit longer, but still, does actually mention various things like this one, Grand Hotel. That obviously was one of the foreign magazines. I don't think that was readily available here. Might be. I've never seen copies of it ever. I have seen quite a lot of copies of like Mirabelle, Valentine. They do turn up at comic conventions. Not very often. Sometimes like £5 or something. You see a pile of them. You see, oh, and I've picked up odd issues. Lovely illustration there. And go all the way through. Got some. Now it doesn't include many covers. And weirdly, it does include this. The Love Story. One of these obviously little books that came out. They had thousands of these. This one is Library, Love Story Library, number 479. So you know how many issues that were coming out of those. There's not much colour in this. So you've got here Mirabelle. This is about the only colour page. So if you go flick through, you can see it's all black and white all the way through. Oh, it's just a little bit colour. There's a few pages of colour, but not that much, other than, of course, this. Now you can really see the art style changing as it goes through. You've got this lovely first, really quite impressive bit of artwork. But also, when it goes through, you can see it really makes into 60s, a swinging 60s London, and also into the 70s. You've got that psychedelic styles. You've got the Beatles in Carnaby Street, all that sort of stuff. Lots of different styles. Most of the short stories are fairly short. We're talking 3 or 4 pages at most. You see 4.5 old pennies there. And that one was from 1957, February the 11th. Lots of these were also based on music. Not songs that I particularly know all the time. Stars in Her Eyes. Now, I don't know about that one. But the artwork, again, is great. And that's the main reason I bought the book, because the artwork is not particularly for the songs. Malcolm Vaughan, Sings to Be Loved. I can't say I know that song at all. All of them, they have this. To Be Loved. Joan Riley, Valentine, 24th of May, 1958, which is good. That's very handy. Also, of course, at the front, when you've got the contents, you've also got the writer and the artist and other details, which is really great as well. It's always trouble. Some of these never put the artist or writer, so you sort of have to guess in some cases. For obviously, some are really obvious. You look and think, oh, that's definitely this artist or that artist. But here's another one here. And it's just great. Lots of ones, like I say, based on like Adam Faith songs, and you've got... let's have another one. Flick onto another page. You've got this one. Oh, another Adam Faith. Adam Faith obviously was popular. I haven't seen a Cliff one. This Is It. Not a song that I'm particularly... Apparently, Adam's famous song. This Is It. But still. I was going to say, I haven't got many covers in this. And I wish they'd included a few more. But here's a cover. So you've got Valentine. And Brings You Love Stories in Pictures. 4.5 pennies still. Wow, that was in 1963. Price hasn't changed. That's very strange. But you can really see the style change. And also it's great to see the fashions, the ideas, the approach. It does change. It's not like the way it is in 1950s. It does sort of... Then you've got here, the big girls don't cry. Obviously, ultimately, it's still much the same sort of stories where they're basically women looking for love, or she finds love, she meets someone that's not right for her, there's someone else, and so on and so on. There's lots and lots of variations of those stories. Quite strange, though. One thing I noticed when I was going through this one here, Anne and Pam, that's by Shirley Bowler. There's not many stories set in the past. I was quite surprised. I would have thought there would have been more Regency period stories or Victorian period stories, those sort of things. It's all generally period 1960s, 1970s. And lots of people there, the hairdressers, I suppose, reading the actual comics that they're talking about in here. Also, you got this, The Getaway Girls. It's a nice run of all the stories of the Getaway Girls. Now, I have no idea, the Getaway Girls, how popular this was in the It was in Mirabelle. You see there, Mirabelle, 1967. So you've got August all the way through to October of the stories of the Getaway Girls. So that's quite a nice addition. None of the others, I don't think, run that way. Getaway Girls all the way through there, if only. Now the art style really does change. You can see the sort of psychedelic there, real something. I can't read the rest of the words there. You got love, etc. mentioned it. But again, this one is from Josep and Maria Bia. I have no idea if I've said his name or her name wrong. Probably completely wrong. This is Valentine, 28th of February 1970. I think it's just great all the way through. I haven't read all the stories. Some I have read. I've read quite a lot of them in the past because I have bought a lot of these magazines, the Mirabelle, Valentine. They do turn up. They're not the easiest to get. The best place, 30th Century Comics, I think. Comic Marts, for some weird reason, you don't find that many of these sort of books, these stories. You do find some. Sometimes you can find a pile of whatever. But most of the time, I've found that places like 30th Century Comics, of course, you can also look on eBay. Not that many turn up. Whenever I've done a search for them, quite often you might find 1 or 2 copies at most of something like Roxy or something. You look for Roxy comic, probably very few, 1950s. And, well, so it's great that we got this book to actually include all this material. Lots of it would have been completely forgotten otherwise. I hope, if this is an absolute success, that there will be a second volume. That would be great. Obviously, it would be nice to see other books like this sort of style. Obviously, ones maybe of crime. Obviously, I think there's quite a few like war ones. There's lots of war ones, but crime ones would be great as well. And also other stuff. Horror stories, obviously the Misty collections like this would be great. Now, quite often they bring them out obviously in very thin, small editions or Treasury of British Comics. But I'm really quite happy to see it in this sort of larger format. It's really quite a nice, substantial format. It's obviously slightly more expensive, but still really great to finally see. Now, at the back here, you've got biographies, and it's great because it gives lots of details about all the artists. Now, I always would prefer a lot more. It'd be nice, of course, if it included some pictures of the artists. I mean, surely they could have included some pictures as well. That would have been great. Obviously, sometimes maybe there are no pictures. Who knows? But you've got here, like, Italian comic artists. Obviously, many of them say here, obviously, some have died. You've got here Mirabelle, Boyfriend, Schoolgirls Picture Library, Star Love, Marty, Roxy, Marilyn, Valentine. Many of them worked in lots of these comics. So the stars you could see from issue to issue, I guess, the same sort of styles. You've also got here, it was a he. Jose, I thought it was. I must admit, I wasn't familiar. You can never tell. I always shouldn't make an assumption that, but however, you've got Ramon Torrance, it's got there, loads of them. Loads of great artists. Many that, of course, like 2000 AD as well, of course. Carlos Esquerra, excellent artist. And also Enrique Romero Badia, John M. Burns, and so on. Wow, what a lovely book this is. Real nice, thick, substantial book. I'm really pleased they brought this out. So excellent, really, truly excellent. So A Very British Affair, the very best of British comics. Should be able to find copies readily available. It's only just come out.